Hi, and welcome to today's episode where I've invited Geraint Davies from Montfort International. They're based near London and they're the leading independent financial advisors. And today I have invited Geraint to discuss the idea of becoming a non UK tax resident, potentially moving to another country that is more tax liberal, let's say Dubai, and then what would be the benefits and process of doing that, and what are the key things that people should be mindful of when they're planning their exit in the proper way. So, Geraint, thank you for joining the show. It's glad to have you with us. Can you please provide a brief introduction about yourself and your company?
Certainly. Shiraz, it's a pleasure to be here today, and thank you very much for the kind invitation. We're a very unusual firm. We deal with people who are moving out of the UK and or into the UK.
So, Geraint, thank you for that introduction. And I would start with my first question, and that is, what are the benefits of becoming a non UK tax resident?
Okay. Well, it's not an easy thing to do, but the thing is, if you can become a non-UK tax resident, then you end your tax reporting to HMRC. They do have a long sort of arm of being able to want to keep in contact with you. But if you can get away from the HMRC reporting, it can be very beneficial in the long term, because they do share information with different tax offices. So if you can just see that you've actually sort of no longer connected to the UK, then it's one less thing to worry about. So,
Thank you. And my next question is, what are the steps that one should take when they're planning to leave UK?
the most important thing that people need to be aware of is that they're planning a change in their lives. And if you're planning to change, you need to plan well ahead of time. Unfortunately, so many people leave it to the last minute. And they expect everything to, because they've no experience of potentially moving overseas, what the issues are. And if they did, and they had it, see, I've seen people who've had checklists in the past. And what they've done when they've had the checklist, it's not very nice to say to, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. And then, but my accountant never told me about this. My financial advisor never told me about that. And it's all about this. This is so different that when you move overseas, whether it be Dubai or anywhere else, the planning starts well ahead of you would normally think to do it. And the old expression, Donald Rumsfeld expression was that people, if you don't know what you don't know the questions to ask. And there are things people know they know, the things people know they don't know, the things that people don't know they know, the things that people don't know they don't know. So you do need to start well in advance, and you need to also produce your autobiography. What do I mean by autobiography? You want to write down all about yourself, your personal situation, what your financial position is, what your goals and aspirations are, and why you're actually moving to Dubai. And that document will save you so much time and money. It is actually a briefing document that you can take to your accountant, your solicitor, and your financial advisor. And funny enough, the document is the same one. It could be used. It is your document. It's the basis upon which advice should be given. And you should go and see your accountant, go and see your solicitor, go and see your financial advisor and say, right, I'm off to Dubai and I'm going off there in about 12 months' time, 18 months' time. Don't leave it about 3 months before you go. But you're going off to see them and say, how can you help me? What is your experience of dealing with people moving overseas? Well, probably will find out very little, very little. So plan, the issue is all about planning and getting this briefing document about yourself in place. And the last thing you want to do is to find out that you've left things too late. And then you've got to delay your departures. So to get away from HMRC effective. I moved on a bit there, Shiraz, but but anyway, so that's up. The secret there is planning it well in advance. Well in advance. Shiraz, thanks for putting this slide up. I use this a lot when talking to people who are moving overseas, wanted to buy it. And it really is, it can make a whole set of differences. So if you're in the UK, and I have this term called FISIC, financially impacted by some international change. Now, you've got to get into the detail because when you change countries, it's very much, and I'll talk about packing your bags shortly, but we do need to know whether you're possibly a national of another country other than the one you live in. So if you're living in the UK, are you a national of another country? Because there could be a tax consequence there, a financial planning consequence that you have to factor in. You may have lived in another country as well. So you could have lived in the States, or you could have a green card from the States, and all that comes into play when planning your departure. So I hope you begin to see how important it is to plan well in advance. And don't forget, there could be knock-on effects of other family members. Now, there's no two ways about it. It's a complex subject, and people try. And if you break it down, and there's the old expression of how to eat an elephant, and that's always eat an elephant bit by bit. So if you look at all these issues and you can actually identify them, then you can plan to make the departure from the UK as comfortable as possible. But the devil is always in the details. So I've seen situations where people have owned property with a family member. Now, the property is going to be partly owned by a person in the UK, and somebody is going to be in Dubai. So that causes an issue. So we have to cover all things like that. So it goes back to this autobiography of setting out who you are, what you are, going to the accountant, going to the solicitors, financial advisor, and that's how they help. So you are if you look at in the middle to the left, you plan to live outside the UK, going to Dubai. As the old expression is, those who plan to fail, those who fail to plan. But this middle box there, be careful when you go to any country about people who try and sell you funny financial solutions. You're not always protected as you would be in the UK with the Financial Ombudsman Service. And what about if you leave a partner behind in the UK temporarily, because you go off to Dubai and you leave the wife to look after the children for a period of time, where you leave at different times? You both could have different tax years to deal with. So you have to plan the departure carefully. Though you've left the UK, there can be still overhanging tax issues. Inheritance tax, capital gains tax of assets left there. And we just had a case of a person who went off to, I won't say the country in case he's listening, but what happened with him is that he sold his company and he took out about some £5 million, but it hadn't been planned properly. And we had to get him off. The £5 million had actually gone in tax and tax penalties. We had to reconstruct the situation, and he's now not got a tax bill. He's actually got a tax refund. So I moved to the one in the middle, the bottom middle one. So you could have assets still left in the UK. And when you go to Dubai, I think I've sort of partly covered that one. And you could also run assets with somebody who's outside the UK, perhaps like India or France or Germany, or you may have a holiday home or something like that. You see, what we get is everybody's situation is different. But the one common denominator is you've got checkpoints. All of these checkpoints need to be checked. And that's why, as one of the things I like to use for, so look at that third slide there. For the listeners today to just focus on the slide for a second.
Yep.
The key takeaway of this getting away from tax, etc., is that think of it when you go to the airport, they say to you, did you pack these bags yourself, sir? Did you pack them yourself? And of course you say yes. Now, the moment you do that, you are signing on to say you've done things properly. So if you get to the other end and they unpack your bags and they find something, you can't deny it was your bag. But people who change countries forget to think about, not like me, last minute packing before I get on a plane sometimes. But what they forget to do is that they have a second bag. It's what they legally own, they could own, what they might own, it's the values, etc. And those, the moment they leave the UK, are set in stone. You can't change them. So your second bag is, should you change the ownership of a property? Is there an advantage of doing it? Should you sell shares? Should you sell them in a new UK tax year? All these different things is, and should you change your departure date, etc. All of these build up to the point I was referring to about we're talking about checklist. It's building up to that the checklist is of no value to you if it's a checklist that says what the issue is. And unfortunately, what happened was the answer comes back, well, you should have done this 6 months ago. So it's important to have a proactive checklist. The proactive checklist starts off, first thing, am I thinking of leaving the UK? That's the first point on the checklist. If it is, that's where you need to take specialist advice in this area. And it's not like doing a tax return at the end of the tax year. This is about organizing yourself. And I use this expression called post-match betting. And post-match betting is that you know the result. And if you're moving countries, planning ahead will allow you to know what the result will be. So she goes, I'm sorry, I went wandering around a bit, talking about different things there, but secret is plan in advance. Don't leave it to the last minute. Doesn't say, it will save you money by planning.
Absolutely right.
It's right, isn't it, Shiraz? You've seen it yourself. When people plan, they will have a far more successful time when they move to Dubai.
That's correct. Actually, I see the people who have the most comfortable transition, they are the one who starts planning 6 months, 12 months in advance, speaking to lawyers, speaking to advisors, speaking to myself, trying to patch together all the elements that needs to be get done before they move. As you said, like packing this bag, that is the actual bag, but then from the financial and the taxation side. And yeah, that's the people that I see are the most comfortably having the transition. And on the other side, I meet people who are like, Shiraz, I just came to Dubai. I had a bag. I'm here now. What should I do? And at that point, you go into all sort of troubles in terms of the departure tax, or have you closed your proper financials properly? Do you have properties there? Do you have family there? And, if you are saying, and if you're at a point where you're saying, hey, I just came to Dubai, now what should I do? There has been a serious lack of planning, I would say.
Yeah, it's what we've seen over the years. Years of doing it. I've had people who've come to me and I said, when you're leaving, they say 8 o'clock this evening. And I said, what do you mean? And they're on their way to the airport.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a straightforward thing in my mind, but they don't teach you this at school. So it always comes back to the advanced planning, thinking ahead, and it's not just doing tax returns. You're changing jurisdictions. This is why those checkpoints are important, and why it's important to get an autobiography of your situation and say to the accountant, the solicitor, it's the same document. And then sit back and listen to see how they can help you.
Okay, so building on to that discussion, what do you think is the importance of changing the advisors when you change your situation from becoming a UK resident to going overseas? Because most of the time the clients that I deal with, they come to me for advice of setting up the offshore part. But when it comes to dealing with the HMRC, they just say we will go to our regular accountant who is doing our financial tax filings, and then we will discuss the exit with our current accountant. But do you feel that's the best choice? Because I'm not sure if a regular um, accountant who is dealing mostly with local laws would be more equipped with dealing with a complex situation of international relocation. And then on the other side of it as well, sometimes I see people in Dubai side working with immigration consultants who are required, who are responsible just for issuing visas and stuff, or maybe setting up a basic company structure, but does not have a background understanding of the tax laws, the corporation laws from Dubai side, from UAE, from the UK side. So how good of the strategy is to have your UK normal accountant with a Dubai immigration consultant set this exit strategy for you?
It's often very difficult, when you've been dealing with an accountant, some people 10, 15 years, it may be the family accountant. And they don't know a firm like us from Adam. And as the expression goes. So I think it really is important that those who are moving overseas put that briefing document together. Often the accountant hasn't seen it before. And often the accountant has seen it as the guru on it. Many accountants are purely just doing tax returns. This is very different. It's a totally different discipline. It's the interaction of tax, financial planning, visas, social security, investments. These things all interact. And the accountant is not, you need to ask the accountant, what is your expertise in this area? And unfortunately, some accountants will fear that they're going to lose you as a customer. And so they want to hang on to you. And that's what value they can add. We've had it. We try and work with clients' existing accountants. They can be quite embarrassing at times. The lack of knowledge that the accountants have got, because let's face it, how many clients will they have each day moving overseas? I said each day. I think yesterday I spoke to 5 people who had either moved overseas or were about to move overseas. But there was one who was in France. There was another one that was in Australia. There was another one that was moving from Australia back to the UK. I had another one who was moving to Dubai. So when you're dealing with this all the time, you're able to sense the issues. You pick up a sixth sense for things. And many accountants may only have one person a year. If they're lucky, is moving overseas. I would recommend everybody to really question their advisors they've got, whether it be their solicitor, whether their accountant, their financial advisor, and to make sure that their move is a smooth move.
Thank you for the response, Geraint. So my next question is, what does it mean to become a UK non-tax resident? And UK has this thing called the statutory residency test. Can you shed some light on that?
There's a lot of people with this new statutory residency test, which is other countries are looking at it, is that it actually identifies whether UK has any interest in you now going forward in general principle terms. I think there's 130 pages of this document about looking at your residency. We have a case recently where the ladies got 179 days in UK and 179 days in another country, and the rest of the time was holiday. And then you have to look at what are the ties that make a UK tax resident and not UK tax resident. And then it's all affected by the number of which tax year occurs in. So it can be beneficial to remain tax resident because you've got things if you're selling a business and getting clearances that they want to see that you're tax resident when the time of the sale was taking place. So organizing itself comes back to the story about planning ahead of the situation, planning ahead of your departure, what you want to do. So you have the events happen that you get, as they say, you get your ducks in a row. So events happen in the right order. There's a statutory residency test that says that if you don't meet it, then you're not resident in the UK. But it can work for you and against you because some tax rules benefit you for being tax resident in the UK. On there. So once again, it's one of those things that most accountants or financial planners will not come head to head with on a day-to-day basis. And I think there's a slide there's not a slide, there's a comment made by Einstein that says, keep things simple, not simpler, which I may have alluded to before. If it is complex, you can't bypass the complex by making it simpler.
Yep.
If you make it simple, we make it simple. Because I won't do this by myself. I always work with our international tax specialist in-house. And then we determine with the statutory residency test what the best thing to do is. And help organize people so that they realize that everyone's different. There's no person who's got exactly the same as another person. So it is just ensuring that you are fully across this and you understand your situation in relation to the statutory residency test.
Thank you. Thank you for the response. And building on to that, my next question would be, what are the process and requirements of becoming a non-UK tax resident?
Well, once again, it comes back down to getting your situation fully understood and organizing and having a meeting with a specialist tax expert and financial planners in this area and say, okay, what would you do if I was in my situation? If you were in my situation, how should I go about it? So it's again about making it time well in advance to get this matter dealt with. So you understand how it affects your particular situation. You've got to make the tax rules live and vibrant so you understand how they will impact upon you. So this is not a do-it-yourself subject. Please don't try and do this yourself, because I won't do it myself. I would always work with a colleague to double check each situation as we do, because it's you can't change the date of once you've gone, you can't change the date of departure. It's happened. You can't change values. You can't change what people own.
Yes, indeed, you have touched upon, again, it's a repeating theme on this discussion, but one of the most important one, that you have to plan properly. Otherwise, once it's done, it's done. As you're saying, you can't change the dates, you can't change the values, you can't change the asset ownership. And then you are stuck with whatever was there on the date of the departure. You can't change those things. And then you have to face the repercussions. As compared to talking to the financial advisors, talking to the solicitors, planning your exit 12 months, 18 months in advance, and then you are in much better control of the situation.
And there's a person who used to appear on British TV that's called Maura Stewart, and she was actually doing adverts for HMRC, and she said, tax doesn't have to be taxing. And it's not about necessarily paying tax. It's about knowing the tax laws and letting them work for you. So the opportunity is there that you can come off tax liabilities as well as gaining tax liabilities. And one of the things that we do is, this is an interesting point. There's probably if younger people who are moving over to Dubai, but they also can find that they can have family members in the future and they join them. We have this UK inheritance tax. May seem something very distant. It could be something that they may inherit from family members, and how you can sort of keep records to ensure that the UK inheritance tax doesn't rise. There's things that just a little sort of a useful one to perhaps know about. If you've got a UK property and you've still got to do tax returns if it's rented out, should you have a UK property and move to Dubai and you rent it out? Well, UK will still want its share of the action on the rental income. So if you reorganize your mortgage well in advance, that can help you. But here's an interesting one. You could be out of the UK for 20 years and got your property rented out. If you go back to the UK to work and you move back into the UK property and have a substantive period of residency, you can get rid of UK capital gains tax if you move back to the UK. So there's all things that people don't know they don't know. And we've had people move back to the UK and got the work records wrong, and went and lost out on getting exemption from capital gains tax. That's what I mean by tax doesn't have to be taxing. There's opportunities out there. Make the system work for you.
Thanks for that info, Geraint. So my next question is more focused on younger entrepreneurs who try to move overseas, because they're like running mostly online digital businesses and software marketing, service-based businesses. Sometimes it's in the UK and sometimes not even UK, selling to the US, Canadian, and European customers. And mostly these people, like the younger entrepreneurial demographic, does not have as many assets or properties or even a life partner. It's just them with their company, pack the bag. There's one bag, pick it up and leave. So in general, do you think that what are the risks involved, even if someone thinks, hey, I'm just a single guy with an online business, I packed my bag and I left. What would be the HMRC implications? Is it easier to get out in that case? And also one of the questions that come often is that the idea of leaving the UK and moving to Dubai is that they can enjoy the 0% tax regime of the Dubai and then not continue to pay the taxes in HMRC. So what would be the timeline of making this possible? Let's say from today, starting the planning until this goal is actually achieved. And keeping in mind the demographic I've reduced to
Yes,
the online entrepreneurs, younger generation. Yeah.
it's so difficult to generalize. And one of the dangers we have got is when people say, when do you think we should come and see you? And we say, always the moment you think you might. I remember years ago, somebody came to me and said, I learned a lesson on this. Like they said, you said not to come to see you until 6 months before departure. And he said, now it appears if I've done something 18 months beforehand, I would have been a far better tax position. So it's because you can't generalize and you just don't know the whole set of circumstances a person has got. We always now say, as soon as you think about it, every situation is different. There's no real other answer than take the advice as soon as possible. And because you just don't know whether the person's going to have a property left in the UK, whether they're going to have a company left in the UK, whether they're going to try and market to the UK. And it's just to make it simple, not simpler. It's complex. So, at the end of the day, who sang that song? Was it Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror? you look at yourself, and if you don't take advice on this subject, then the only person you can blame is the man in the mirror. Yeah, and that's really what it is. And it's, I could go waffling on into detail. It won't be appropriate for everybody. It's what's appropriate for you. It's your life. It's your plan. It's what you're trying to achieve. And why are you doing it? And you also, just to bear in mind, you also need an exit plan should you decide to come back to the UK years down the track. It is, as I said before, about did you pack these bags yourself, Steph? It takes time to deliver results, and never leave it the day of the flight. Never leave it. You got to, it does take time to sort these things out.
Sure. Thank you for the response. I understand it's a complicated and very individual based situation
Yes.
that you and we both deal on a regular basis, and every client situation is so individual that you can't generalize. So my next question would be like, how can someone prove that he has moved out of UK and become a non-tax resident overseas and established a base somewhere else?
There's a concept, the last will and testament is actually a matter of record. To prove that they have left the UK, we get our clients to complete a questionnaire. It sort of shows that how they're breaking their connections to the UK, but some things take time to break. Now, once they've done so, we will then, when we believe that they are no longer tax residents of the UK, or when they cease to be tax residents, we will then help complete the formalities with them to sort of get the right records to HMRC, so HMRC can sort of say they're not one of ours, and so they can get a nil tax code on HMRC. So that's how we go about that. So it's making certain that the clients will complete the questionnaire, they sign it, and that becomes a matter of record of their intentions to do it. So what we don't want is for a look back to see what happened. We also make certain that the person may already have become non-tax resident when they come to see us. So we get them to complete a day-by-day questionnaire of where they are, which countries, what time. And then we'll say at that point in time, we'll say what they will be relative to being tax res. There's some funny things there, things that you can still do things after you've left the UK, like you can't pay into a UK individual savings account, but you can pay into a pension for 5 years. You're out of the UK, or maybe never, because that issue in property, or you may never because of the inheritance tax. And then you've got the issues about whether you should still make contributions into UK state pensions, it's the national insurance. So it's what may fit one person may not fit another. It's not just a case of get up and go and you've gone. There's other things that need to be taken into consideration. So, we will do all the paperwork when a person becomes non-resident to ensure it's signed off by HMRC, and also to ensure that they stay non-resident.
Great, thanks. Now I want to look at the income generated on Dubai side. So, the client has moved to Dubai and they've set up a free zone company and they started doing business and generating income, purely business income in the Dubai company. And then obviously in Dubai, we have a 0% corporate tax and a 9% corporate tax, depending on which category do you fall into. But how can we make sure that the income that is generated in the UAE free zone is not taxed back in the UK?
Well, it shouldn't be. There's no reason why it should be taxed in the UK unless people have actually gone back into they've actually doing work in the UK, physically doing work in the UK. And there shouldn't be a reason why it's caught in the UK. It's only if somebody does something that would cause it to be caught taxed in the UK inadvertently. And that might be that they come back to the UK to do some work, thinking that because it's an overseas company, that any work in the UK is not taxable because it gets paid to the UAE-based company. So it's the importance of just listing to ensure, yeah, you're okay, you're clear of the UK authorities. I don't want to, what I don't want people to do is to assume that what I'm saying is that there's nothing that HMRC can get you on. It's always was just tell us what you're doing, and then we'll say whether HMRC can get you on.
Sure. Thanks for clarifying. And one more question that I have is some of the countries, when you're leaving and departing, there's a thing called exit tax or departure tax that sometimes you see in Canada or Australia. Is there something similar to UK when at the time of leaving on your departure date, there is some sort of calculation and some sort of exit tax that you have to pay?
There's been talk of some implications on pensions. It's more a case of with the UK is that they can hang on to you for longer, so that there's an example is that issue of if you sell everything up, but if you don't sell everything up, then that's different. So in the UK, you can have. I'm thinking about different countries now, just about the UAE. So please excuse me as I try and answer this question. There is no UK exit taxes, but there are consequences of retaining UK assets. So tax can still apply to those UK assets, like UK pensions, UK property, etc., UK inheritance taxes.
Got it. Got it. Thanks for clarifying. And then can you, with your experience, can you shed some light on the idea? What are the common misconceptions that people generally have in regards to becoming a non-UK tax resident?
I think it's simple. They think that getting on the plane is sufficient. They don't take advice. They think that it may be just about tax returns, lack of planning, confidence in their own financial advice and accountants. There's nothing to worry about. Well, it's not that there's nothing to worry about. It's a case of make certain that there's nothing to worry about. Because the last thing you want to do is have to come back to the UK and start the process again. So the misconceptions are time it takes to get advice, time it needs to sort of put things in order before it happens. And we never want to be rushed with our advice. So if you look at a person who's, let's say, when you research the situation, it may take 3 months to get the advice. If you think you need to get the advice, and you think, get some advice now, it's 4 months before departure, and you get the advice, and you mull over whether you want to engage that person for the advice, and then that person's got 3 months, said, we're not going to rush it, it's 3 months. It's going to take to get the advice. Well, that only leaves you 2 weeks to make decisions. So doesn't it make more sense to sort of 12 months, 18 months beforehand, get a view on matters, then decide if you want to engage someone, which may well, then it takes them sort of 3 months to deliver the advice to you. Then we give you snippets of guidance along the way. And then you've got 6 months to change things. So you're packing your bags the right way. And you're not putting pressure on yourself. And I remember people say this is putting pressure on us to make a decision. I said, well, I didn't put you in this situation, but we didn't know what the issues were. Well, the issues are very simple. You're changing countries, the rules are different. Get to know how they affect you. So, and that's one of the things, unfortunately, is that it's the only thing about if you don't know what you don't know, you will never know the questions to ask. So you do need to take advice well and truly before you go. It's not rocket science as this. It just takes time to develop solutions of how you should deal with it and to optimize your position. So it's not just a case of minimizing tax, it's optimizing your departure position.
Thank you, Geraint. It was a pleasure to have you on this session with us. And if you can let us know if someone who is looking to exit the UK, move to Dubai or anywhere overseas, and they want to seek your help with planning and executing the exit, what sort of assistance that you can provide and how they can get in touch with you?
Well, they can get in touch with us at www.montfort-ncl.com. They can email us. They can go to our website and email us from there. Call us direct on +44 1483 202072. Well, they can come to Shiraz yourself and ask to contact us. And what happens when they come to us? We go through a process of listening to what they've got, their plans. Listening is the important part. And then we will say to them, this is what we can offer you. And it can be a combination of tax, visa, legal. We don't have enough to Dubai, but other countries. Tax, legal, financial planning, what's to do with social security, pensions, etc. Maybe knock-on impact on memories of family. We look at it and we will then say, this is what we can see. We're not performing seals and give instant advice, but it will take time because the devil is in the detail. So we provide guidance and advice to those people who are moving countries. So there'd be UK to Dubai, UK to Italy, UK to France, wherever we have resources with our team. We work with a number of subject matter experts around the world. So we don't have experts in everything in-house. We do work with people overseas. It's impossible to have that knowledge. Have the one man to have the knowledge of all these different working points. The principles are the same. Plan ahead. The money's in the plan. And working out, we always want to know what people are trying to achieve as well. Why are they doing something? What's their end goal? And that will shape the advice we deliver to ensure that they can do everything in their power to achieve their end goal.
Well, Geraint, thank you for your time today. It was a pleasure having the session with you. And you have a good day.
Shiraz, thank you very much. You too. And we'll speak to you soon.
Sure.